Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this full moon in Leo video. I will start by saying that it is a particularly strong full moon, given that it is in the sign of Leo, symbolized by the Strength card in the tarot deck. So, if we're looking at the full moon in and of itself, right, it symbolizes a peak of energetic expression, very high energy frequency. And that is, in a way, symbolized by fire, right? The fire element. So when you take the full moon and you put it in the sign of Leo, which is a fire sign, you get very strong energy flow. So, and because it relates to the moon, this can speak to our emotions, our emotional self, right? Feeling a lot of emotion, feeling a lot of fire energy within us. And I believe it's absolutely imperative that you that you harness and express this fire energy in such a way that is healthy, right? That is that makes for the proper expression and use of that fire energy, right? So absolutely, I would engage in fire activities like exercise, sweating. It's so important to sweat, right? Walks are great, but to actually get that fire burning, right? Think about fire. Think about a fireplace. Think about a campfire when you're looking into the fire pit, right? What do you feel? What do you sense? That's the sort of energetic expression that I think is important to mimic during this time, right? Because fire energy that's left to sort of broil inside of us can lead to these sort of other way of expressing fire energy, the other side of fire energy, right? Because every element has its positive manifestation and its negative manifestation, so to speak, negative. So, so if we're looking at fire energy, right, it speaks to pride, strength, resilience, right? The initiative, the courage that it takes to move forward in a certain direction. It speaks to presentation, right, of the self. Namely, if we're looking at the Strength card, we very much see that sort of feeling, right, that's emanated from the card. But that manifestation, right, of energy can also, when not properly harnessed and utilized and expressed in a healthy way, can lead to its other form of expression, right? Which sometimes can lead to feelings of anger, right? Feeling just at your boiling point, feeling, sometimes it can also lead to an expression of in some ways, right? It depends, but, and we see this also with the Strength card, it can also symbolize a potential sort of feeling of, I don't want to say arrogance, but somewhat of an overcompensation of that feeling of pride, of power, of, right? So it's this fine line between the positive wielding of fire energy and that which is not conducive, right, to our ultimate desire to manifest and create. Too much fire growing wildly out of control can destroy, right, as we see on the Tower card of the tarot deck. But fire, when tempered appropriately, when contained and channeled in a way that is truly positive, truly conducive, ultimately leads to creation, right? Fire being a very creative element to work with. So having said that, right, it's a beautiful time during this full moon in Leo to assess, right, how we wield our fire energy. Everybody has fire energy. Everyone has fire energy. Some people more than others, right, depending on the planetary placements in your chart, right? And if you don't know the planetary placements in your chart, I have a service on my website, alchemyandyou.com. You can click that. It's an astrological chart report and interpretation. You'll get a feel for your elemental composition as a whole. But regardless of that, everybody has fire. Everybody has a certain level of fire. So this is a beautiful time, again, to take a step back and think about how are we exerting our will, right? Is it in a healthy way for ourselves and for others? Is it being channeled in a way that's helping us create, right? Or is it inhibiting us? Is it sabotaging our growth in some sort of way, right? So to speak. So, full moon is oftentimes a period of fruition of whatever seed or intention we planted during the new moon period. And I will say this, right? In a month, we have one new moon and we have one full moon. But that's the micro cycle. There's also a macro cycle in terms of the year. So what it means is, yes, within every month, right, you have a new moon, you set an intention, it's a brand new slate, right? Taking advantage of those very fertile energies, which then in some shape or form culminates, brings illumination and fruition at the full moon in the same month. But when looking at the macro sort of stage of manifestation, right, we look at the yearly cycle. We look at the new moon in that year that corresponds to the full moon in that year, both within the same sign. So it means the new moon in Leo, which was 6 months ago, because they are always corresponding within a 6-month interval. The new moon in Leo corresponds to the full moon in Leo. So in a more macro way, think about what you were really focused on, trying to bring to fruition, right? During the new moon period in Leo 6 months ago. And whatever that is, right, it is now reaching its peak at this full moon that we have today. So that's why I think it's so incredibly important to keep track of the moon cycles, right? It's really stepping into the rhythm of our energies by way of the moon's course. So the next new moon will be coming up, I believe, at the end of this month. So stay tuned for that. I'll have a video on that to assess sort of the energies for each of the signs during that period of time, so you can make the most of that new beginning of a cycle for the moon. All right. Nonetheless, I'd love to get started here. There's a lot of beautiful energy to work with. I'm already feeling it, high intensity. So let's get right to it. Hey, Aries. Okie dokie. Let me tune in. Okay, Aries, you are ready. You are wanting an emotional revival. You want a new emotional beginning. You want to step into the position of the Father of Cups. You want to be in charge of your emotions. You want to sail on to, calmer waters, calmer seas as it regards your emotions. You want to stabilize your emotions. And you really, I think, also want to be independent in regards to your emotional satisfaction. I'm really feeling that for you, Aries. And I remember this theme came up for you as well in your previous readings, mid-February, right? A need for a revival of some sort, reinvention. But this Father of Cups is looking right over at death, right? Right over at the death part, which speaks to the need to do away, transform, surrender to the death of what doesn't work for us, the parts of us that do not speak to our ultimate truth, that do not align with our authenticity of self, right? That do not align with our purpose and vision of the future. We have to surrender to that progress, that process, right? You got to be willing to let go of what doesn't work so that you can be open to receive what does. That's kind of what I'm feeling, okay? Feeling these three cards, I'm going to pull them out for you, okay? Alrighty, Aries. Let's see. You absolutely, right? You have your focus is very much, even if it's in your subconscious, on achieving, swimming away from a past situation that does not emotionally satisfy you. You want to achieve grounded and a sense of groundedness and stability within your emotional environment. And that will happen by way only, right, of the death of the old, of what didn't align with us, right? Any energetic attachments that we still feel we have to the past in any kind of way, we need to swim through. You see, this Father of Cups is swimming right through the Death card. It's like, in order for the Father of Cups to make progress, right, it needs to transcend this shadow work, this shadow space, which is very much conducive during the new moon. So, Aries, during the new moon, right, I'll be doing a reading for the new moon. It's going to be sometime next week, I believe at the end of February or so. Anyhow, the new moon is a fantastic time, right? It's a great time to really sit in the stillness of our mind, to confront our psyche, right? Our inner psyche, our truth, right? To set aside the illusions, right? And really focus with clarity on our truth, right? And the releasing of what is not our truth. So it's a time of stillness, of quiet, right? And it's one that requires us to really be true to ourselves, right? Even in terms of how we think, how we our perceptions, right? Because much of the time we can get caught up in our certain habit of thinking, our certain self-talk, or anything else, right? That we don't realize maybe how we are conditioned in a certain way to think or do things. But during a new moon period, right, it's like all of that sort of white noise, so to speak, is pulled off and away, and we are left in the darkness, in the stillness, with our own soul, right, in a way. And so we're left to sit and ponder in that silence about really our truth, the underpinnings of our behavior, of our actions, of our habits, right? And to then thereby really crystallize, align with our vision of what we do want to bring into our life, towards how we do want to change, right, our environment or the way that we do things or the things that we do, right? It's a great time for the uprooting of what we want to do away with, and the planting of the seed of intention for what we do want to see come into our lives, what we do want to manifest. Okay, so I'm sensing that there needs to be an uprooting, right? A surrendering even to that process. I'm being drawn to this amethyst crystal, and I'm sensing that it's going to be very important for you to align with your soul. It's going to be very important for you to align with your intuition. And that can be through dream work. That can be through really paying mind to your dreams, but also spending the time to meditate. Very important, right? Allowing yourself to really get into that space and in that zone in which you are comfortable, right? To face your truth, your soul, your inner psyche, right? Your thoughts. And really seeing them clearly. Okay. Now, beneath the Father of Cups, you have the World in reverse. So I'm sensing that you want to turn something around, right? The way that you've been doing things, or your environment, or the way you see yourself in the world, or the way you see yourself in your environment, you want to transform, right? You want to transform that self-perception. Okay, but it feels heavy. It feels like it's so much to turn around and change. It feels like it's such a hard transformation to make, right? Which is, I'm sensing why maybe, and Death is looking over at these two cups. It's these two cards. It's kind of like there's a resistance, right? The resistance to pass through and transform and surrender yourself to the process itself, and to the necessary to the necessity of facing our true self, right? To find our truth and what we want to create in the world, what we want to see our world like, right? I'm sensing it's a self-imposed resistance, okay? Because you don't have anything tangible standing in your way, right? It's just a process of preparing yourself for the departure into this new stage and into this world that you want to turn upright. So on the other side, you have the Two of Pentacles. So this can speak to being preoccupied, right? Being preoccupied with stability, with forming a sense of stability and groundedness as it regards your finances, your career, your even studying, right? Anything that you actively work towards that you believe will one day bring you a sense of groundedness and stability in the long term. Two of Pentacles speaks to your efforts in trying to achieve that harmony and balance of stability. It could also mean that this is the point from which you are coming, right? The motivation that you have to move forward along this new path and journey is to achieve that true grounded stability, and balancing, right? A sense of balance, an inherent balance within yourself, but one that is really independent and self-sufficient, right? The irony of this card is that it's depicted by a butterfly, but there are two pentacles laced together by a figure 8. So it's almost like, and pentacles are heavy energy, but the butterfly is light. It rises. So it's almost like in your sense of groundedness and stability, or rather in your independence and in your sort of sense of freedom and transformation and flight and self-sufficiency, is that groundedness and stability. So it's not the groundedness and stability of things. It's not the groundedness and stability of people, of situations, right? That we associate with our sense of stability. It's like, with me, within myself, I am stable because of who I am, right? I have balance within myself. I have achieved my equilibrium, right? within myself, and that makes me feel stable and grounded. And when I feel stable and grounded, I can then fly. I can be free, you see? And I would say this, okay, Aries, what's really important, right? Because this is a big theme coming out for you, the Two of Pentacles, speaking to achieving that inherent internal sense of balance. It's so important to know elementally, right? The balance, your predisposition of elemental sort of balance to begin with by way of your birth chart. It's very important, right? To know, do I have most of my planets in a certain element, right? Is the planet that regards my career and finances in a certain element, right? How do I approach this area of life, this aspect of life? There are so many factors that go into sort of forming our makeup, our energetic makeup, right? And really your birth chart is the blueprint to that. So if you want to know, right, what is my predisposition, right? What propensity do I have naturally to overindulge in a certain element, right? Overexpress a certain element or underexpress a certain element. What do I need to tweak, right? And how to tweak it, right? In order to achieve my personal sense of balance, right? And we're all different. We all have a different birth chart. We all have an energetic imprint that is unique in its own, right? And yet we all are somewhat the same. We all have every element, right, comprising us. So, and if you don't know your elemental composition and you want to know, which I don't blame you, right? I think, again, it's so important. I have a service on my website. You can check it out, alchemynew.com. And it's called the Astrological Elemental Interpretation Report. And that will basically, I'll take a look at all of your planets, their placements, what sign they're in, what element, modality, what house they're in, what aspect they're making, and so forth. And I will assess and interpret your personalized elemental composition, okay? To give you a snapshot yet again of what elements within yourself are you, is at a predisposition to be sort of repressed in some way, perhaps, in a certain area of life. What energies and elements of your being are naturally, right, at your disposal, very much so, very much available, right? And how do you wield that energy, right? In what area of your life, again, perhaps, and so forth. And what energies perhaps are already balanced, right? So if that is of interest to you to kind of get to know your elemental composition in a greater light, okay, to be able to achieve elemental balance and understand what elements, right, of our being are holding us back, inhibiting us from achieving our sense of groundedness, then that might be something you want to check out. All right. Again, the website is alchemynew.com. It's the Astrological Report and Interpretation. Okay. Nonetheless, balance of being, of soul, of element, of self-sufficiency is very much integral, and it seems as what you want to achieve, right? That's like the anchor, that's the base of this whole thing. You want to feel good within who you are within yourself, right? And it's speaking very much to your emotions, So that is like the nucleus of it. And you want this revival of emotions. You want this new start emotionally in your life in such a way that will be inspiring for you, right? Kind of like a fresh breath of air. Okay. I'm getting also that you have a lot of work on your plate. Sagittarius and Capricorn and Pisces got the same card in reverse, all right? Maybe Capricorn was not in reverse. Perhaps it was actually. Nonetheless, Eight of Pentacles speaks to having an overload of work, especially when it's in reverse. It's like overload, like too much work, beyond capacity. You've reached your capacity boiling point, type of reserves. You've reached your reserves at their highest sort of threshold. And beneath that is the Daughter of Pentacles, sort of like waiting to be able to begin this new journey towards your greater self-sufficiency, stability, and emotional satisfaction and happiness, right? but you could just have so much on your plate that you feel overwhelmed. You just feel overwhelmed, like you can't even make this. You may not have the strength, it feels, to move through this this transformative energy. You know you need to do it, right? The Father of Cups is looking head on at the Death card. They're like looking at each other like, I know I have to go through this, but it's like you may just have so much on your plate yet again. You may be so involved in something you need to work in, study, work, finances, career, right? Anything. Your responsibility and your obligations, that it's holding you back from being able to let go, right? And really surrender to this new process of some sort, this rebirth. So you have the Ten of Pentacles, and you have, which came up in your, I believe, new moon reading for January 27th. Nonetheless, you also have the Ten of Swords. A few signs of beginning this card as well. Both the 10, interesting, both the 10 both popped out together. And you also have another 10 over here, the 10 of Cups. In reverse, though, on the other side. We'll deal with that. But first, the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Pentacles together, paired like this, closing out the way that you view, an old way of viewing stability. Perhaps in your past, your perception and your analysis of how you view stability, right, is changing. Okay? And perhaps in this perception of this old perception of what you constituted or considered as stable, grounded, qualifying, quantifying, validating, is no longer of true meaning to you, right? It's like you're rethinking what truly gives you stability. And I'm definitely seeing that with this card, right? Feeling stable within yourself as who you are, elementally. Balancing your elements, bringing it to a point of harmony, right? It's a very harmonic energy, it seems. So the 10, right, of Pentacles is like too much stuff. It's like too many pentacles. It can also speak to fruition and culmination and closing out of a phase that is career-oriented or financial. However, I'm feeling that in regards to this and in regards to the energy that I remember from your past readings, right, there's really a theme of reorienting our vision and our perception of what makes us feel grounded, right? What we consider in our life to bring us a sense of stability. Is it inborn? Is it something within ourselves? Or are we deriving our sense of stability and groundedness from external influences, from external things, right? Pentacles represent things. It's tangible. It's physical. It's earth. So I'm sensing that you're doing away with an old sort of mentality towards that way of viewing stability. And on the other side, you have the Three of Pentacles in reverse. You have the Eight of Swords upright. Okay, you're waiting for this chrysalis. You're waiting for this chrysalis to kind of take effect, where you are free from the entrapment of old ways of thinking, right? It could even be self-imposed, right? On one hand, it could be the way people view us and feeling entrapped by, in a way, societal standards or the expectations that other people have upon us. But it could also be self-imposed standards, self-imposed expectations, that self-talk, okay? So I'm sensing that you're waiting for this period, right, of, and you know it's coming, right? Speaking again to the Death card, transformation, okay? Transformation of your being, movement, flight, change. You have two butterfly cards here. So, but inherently, to fly, you need to have both of your wings balanced, right? Both of your wings need to be balanced, and you within yourself need to be balanced and stable. And that way you can fly, right? If a butterfly only has like part of a wing, or right, it can't really fly. So think about that. Maybe ruminate on that. As I feel it's somewhat of a key to achieving this flight and this freedom and this movement forward. Nonetheless, it is procedural. You have to wait. There's a certain element of a process, right, that needs to be experienced, it seems. But nonetheless, in the sense that you know that the change is coming. You know that it's inevitable. You can't stop the birth, right? The butterfly is going to hatch when the time is right. So you know it's coming. You know you got to pass through this death card sooner or later, right? Deal with all of the past that you need to let go, release, so to speak, like that you need to just move through. And really the shadow work, right, that we were talking about during the new moon period. And it flying up into the future, into this new beginning. All right? So that we want to see for ourselves. So beneath that, though, you have the Three of Pentacles in reverse, speaking to, again, stability. Especially so, not only because it's a pentacle, but because it's a 3. 3 is a very stable number, but it's in reverse. So it's a period of redefining the foundation of our view towards what brings us stability, how we see groundedness and stability, right? And instead of externalizing it, again, focusing it on internally, how do we achieve stability and groundedness? And realizing that it is from within us, right? The Ten of Cups in reverse, 3 tens, and the Death card, and a card speaking to transformation and the world. There is a serious phase closing out here for you. It regards your emotions. It regards the closing out of emotions. It regards the expression of your emotions, letting the emotions out, right? Very much going into its shadow work, right? Going into our past experiences, seeing what colors our vision today, right? How we see forward, right? Are we being energetically still influenced by any past emotions or experiences? And we need to let it go, right? Rechannel that energy in a creative way. Okay? So there's some release that needs to happen. And I'm sensing step into your fire energy, step into creative activities. You're Aries. I mean, you are Aries. You are very fiery, very creative, right? And this is a wonderful time to engage in that kind of energy, right? So fire as an element is very cleansing, is purifying. It's a very purifying element. So it burns off, right? Anything that is unwanted, so to speak, right? It's a very powerful element, and it speaks as well to the solar plexus chakra. So I'm feeling, Aries, for you guys, step into the strength of a solar plexus chakra, right? That you can definitely do so during meditation. Focus on that, on the solar plexus chakra, on fire building activities. Exercise, a great one. Make sure you're sweating, right? Really stepping into that fire zone. Also, creative activities, right? Writing, definitely speaking to the Ten of Cups. Okay, so releasing, working through. I'm sensing that you need to work through past emotions and things of that nature. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in, Aries. I hope this reading was helpful for you guys. Feel free to check out your ascendant, rising, or moon sign, as oftentimes those will provide even further insights into your situation. I know that I tend to resonate a lot with my moon sign, all right? So it might be worth checking out. If you don't have your sign for any one of those planets, feel free to check the link below in the description box that I provide and enter in your details there. Just make sure, though, that you have your correct birth time, as a few minutes can change the rising, ascendant, or moon sign as well. Okay, so you can play around with it, see, depending on what times you think you might have been born during, and see, what changes. It's a great way to learn more about yourself beyond your sun sign. Aside from that, I will be back in a few days with a special Valentine's Day video. And it's going to be about love, but it might not be the love that you think it is about, all right? So it's going to be kind of exciting and interesting, cool and different. So tune in then. I look forward to seeing you guys, energetically speaking. And aside from that, I will be back next week with a March reading for you guys as well. All right? So see you soon. Enjoy this full moon. Tap into your creative potential, Aries, okay? Get that energy out, okay? Express it, release it in a creative way, in a healthy, positive way, okay? Don't let it boil to a point where it's it's eating you alive almost, right? Like you feel you need to express it, but express it, okay? So thank you again, Aries, enjoy the full moon, enjoy February, and I'll see you soon. Bye.